It's weekly download time. It's weekly download time. It's time for the weekly download. It's weekly download time. It's weekly download time. And now we're going to learn some stuff. It's download time. It's weekly download time. It is time for the weekly download. Download time. It's weekly download time. And now we're going to learn some stuff. It's download time. It's weekly download time. It's time for the weekly download. Download time. It's weekly download time. And now we're going to learn some stuff. Alright, what's up everybody? How's it going? Welcome to the weekly download. It's 2 downloads this week because fuck the police. But yeah, yesterday I was having a conversation with Dustin Matter, who I see is first in the chat room. Ryan O'Ryan, the weekly download is a very inexpensive series of tutorials, sound packs, etc. that I do every week. This is number 53, and for only $5 a week you get the whole archive. So this is my effort to provide an affordable and really usable version of what it is that I have to teach. And it's also a good challenge because it makes me put out something new every week. And yeah, that's the way. That's the way to get good at stuff, is to do it on a repeating deadline. All right, so basically this week's weekly download, I was having yesterday a conversation with Dustin Matter. And Dustin he's got a pretty good momentum going in the music biz. You know, he's got some records out that did really well, including his Producer Dojo EP, which hit #1 on Beatport in like 3 days. Very cool. Well, #1 for dubstep, but that's still pretty fucking amazing because it's a very competitive genre. But yeah, anyway, so Dustin has some music out, and he was like, look, man, I want to get more gigs. I want to get more gigs. How do I get more gigs, right? And it kind of brought me to a point about social media. So today we're going to talk a little bit about social media and about how you kind of drum up interest and drum up engagement for your music on social media. So you may have noticed that when you post tracks, it's like fucking crickets, you know? It's really hard to get people to actually engage with your creative output on social media. People don't go on social media to go follow, it feels like advertising to people. And you know, a lot of people have this kind of misconception about the music industry that you can just kind of like pour a bunch of advertising money on your promotion and that everything will work out well, and the people who are successful, it's just like they're like greasing the wheels and, you know, coughing up the payola to make their music a success, right? But we're used to ignoring millions and millions of dollars worth of advertising. I've probably ignored billions of advertising this year because it's not something that's interesting to me, and it's not something that I want to engage with, and it's not something that's exciting, right? So I've always said that and a lot of this comes from, if you want to learn more about marketing, you should check out this guy Seth Godin, Sethgodin. He has these 2 really incredible TED Talks, but one of his TED Talks, he introduced to me the concept of the purple cow, which has changed my life. Okay, so let's say, so how marketing used to work, right, was in the 50s, there was not that many, you know, there was a post-war explosion in the population. Everybody had money, you know, college was cheap. You could like work a part-time job and put yourself through college. Houses were like 10 grand. Like, it was a whole different economic landscape. And there was not that many products because America was just getting its manufacturing together. And there weren't that many channels on television. So what you could do in the 50s is you could buy a bunch of ad space and put your message in front of people, and they would have to watch it. They didn't have a remote, they didn't have another channel to go to, they didn't have Facebook to distract them, so they would basically be like a captive audience. And if you blasted people with, you know, a cartoon animal in association with your brand of toilet paper, then, you know, person X would be at the store and they would be looking at the two different brands of toilet paper and they would remember your cartoon animal, and it would make them think about like fluffy clouds and a clean bum, and they would buy your brand of toilet paper and not the next person. But the problem is that and Seth Godin calls this the TV industrial complex. The problem is that it's broken now. You know, you can't, there's a million distractions in the world. You can change channels, you can just turn off advertising, and there's just way too many options and not enough time. Like, people don't have free time anymore. People aren't sitting around just like consuming advertising like they used to. So the question arises, how do you reach people, right? And Seth Godin points out that you have to create a conversation around your product. And if your product does not create an interesting conversation, people aren't going to talk about it, and your message isn't going to spread. And as far as the music business is concerned, I like to conceptualize this as the conversation conduit, okay? And how you get all of your fans and how your music spreads. So whether you're trying to make a living as a musician or whether you just want your music to spread, you got to recognize that how music spreads is through verbal conversation, and that conversation goes something like this. Okay, so insert two people into a context where music is being listened to. Maybe they're on a road trip, or maybe they're at a venue or a party or something, and some interesting music comes on. And then friend one will go to friend two. Hey, friend two, what is this interesting music? And friend two will say, oh, well, that's the artist, insert artist name. Like, that's the artist, fill in the blank. That's the artist X, right? And friend one will say, oh, interesting. And then that conversation they'll have that conversation like 20, 30 times in like a clump, right? Maybe it's a long car ride, maybe it's a night of partying or whatever. And friend number one will find out about 10, 15, 20 different artists, right? Then time will pass, and friend one will be like, you know, what, I want to listen to some music, but I want to listen to some new music. What do I remember? And they'll think back on that conversation and what they can remember from that conversation, and they will type in whatever they remember your artist name as in Google, and hopefully it's short, memorable, and easy to spell, and search engine optimized. And if you're picking an artist name, make sure it is short, memorable, easy to spell, and search engine optimized, as in you have the .com, you have the SoundCloud URL. You're not like, you know, user number 5874, you know, it's something like really easy to remember and spell. And then friend number one will say, hey Google, take me to the portal for insert artist name. And then, and only then, do you get to say, here is a reward if you become my fan. And you get to offer them something they're interested in. Maybe it's music, maybe it's a tutorial, maybe it's, you know, something else cool, if they sign up for your email list and give you their email, right? So the point is to be an interesting conversation and to be as memorable as possible. So back to Seth Godin, right? Seth Godin has this amazing, metaphor of the purple cow, where let's say you're driving down the road and you pass by a cow. So what? You know, cows are invisible. Cows are boring. You know, you don't have a cow-related problem. You're not going to stop the car. You're not going to care. You're just going to keep driving, right? But let's say you're driving down the road again and you see a purple cow. You're like, whoa, stop the car. It's a purple fucking cow. You get out. You can't believe it's real. You touch it. You take a selfie with the purple cow. Post it on social media. Boom. It's front page of Reddit. Everybody knows about the purple cow. Did the purple cow spend any money on marketing? No. It's a purple cow. It's a conversation in itself. You don't have to advertise the purple cow. People will find out about the purple cow because it's crazy, it's memorable, it's amazing. And when I say the word purple cow to you, you're going to remember the purple cow for the rest of your life, right? So that is the purple cow factor. That's what gets you to that's what gets you the biggest ticket in the raffle barrel of a person's memory, when they're like trying to remember, oh, I want to listen to some music. What of the music that I heard of recently, what am I going to type into Google? Well, it's got to be a purple cow. It's got to be short, memorable, easy to spell, and search engine optimized, right? So step one for any kind of promotional music, any kind of business or whatever, is finding that perfect, short, memorable artist name that's easy to spell and leads you to what some people call the like gate or the follow gate, where you are offering prospective fans a free download in exchange for becoming your fan or signing up for your mailing list or whatever, right? So you can do this with ToneDen.io, and there's other services like Pay with a Tweet, blah 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 blah, where you can get people to become your fan in exchange for their email address, right? So you need to basically generate as much traffic for that capture system as you possibly can. So how do you get people to do that, right? Well, you may have noticed that people ignore the shit out of your tracks when you post them, and that's because the track isn't a conversation. And you'll see the artists that are doing well, they'll kind of create a conversation around the release of a track before they put it out. So a classic technique would be people on Twitter who know they're going to release a track. Like, they know they're going to release a track, but they'll type in, "Yo, hey, was thinking of dropping a new track today. What do you think? Should I do it? I don't know." Right? And that's a conversation because you're asking a question. So asking a question is one of the greatest ways to create a conversation. And of course your fans want to hear your new music. And you'll find that if you ask the people, "Should I release a track?" or "If this post gets 5,000 likes, I'll release a track today." And then you get like mad engagement because it's a conversation and people are excited. And then you'll drop the track and you'll notice that you get like 1/100th of the traffic on the actual SoundCloud URL, not least of all because Facebook blocks SoundCloud URLs because they know that they can make you pay advertising money to Mark Zuckerberg, who totally needs your money. He's super broke. He's super broke, and he just definitely needs your money. So you should contribute to the Mark Zuckerberg charity wank fund. But yeah, anyway, but they'll try and make you grease the wheels, so SoundCloud gets blocked, and a SoundCloud post is not a conversation, right? So one of the greatest ways you can create a conversation is by asking people questions, and a lot of the time when you see artists doing this, they know damn well they're about to release their new collab with whoever, you know? They're just stirring the pot. And I call this shaking the tree when it comes to business, because it's kind of like, you know, it's basically, okay, your content, like your tracks and everything, are, although no one pays you to make your tracks, and it's like really not realistic as a musician to expect anyone to just pay you to be in the studio writing your own music that's in your heart. Like, no one's going to pay you to do that. But those tracks are going to generate the business for you of gigs. It's going to generate the business of, you know, maybe people want to buy your sample packs or maybe whatever, right? But they're going to plant the seeds of the opportunities that come to you. And the more of these pieces of content that are out there creating conversations in the world, the more those opportunities are going to come to you, right? So I like to think of the tracks as planting the seeds for the opportunities, you know? Like, yes, music making is an end in itself, and I totally that is my great joy in life, is making music and spending time in the studio. But beyond just creating the thing, when you put your content out into the world, think about it like the seeds of the opportunities that are going to come back to you. Because the music industry, it's not like you just like walk up to the front door of the music industry and be like, "Here is my resume. I have been to audio school and I have DJ'd at some parties. Here you go. Would you like to be my fan? Here is my certificate from Dubspot." You know, that's just not how that works, right? People, like, the music is essentially, the music itself is what's going to make people want to book you or make people want to hire you for whatever, you know? So you can plant the seeds of these opportunities in the world, but it takes some time for those conversations to organically develop and everything, and it takes some time for you to set up your conduit. But once you have set up your conduit, the conduit is essentially the opportunity catcher. Right? So you set that up, and then you're planting seeds of opportunities with all of your content and your tracks. But sometimes you're like looking at your watch and you're like, "God damn it, like, I just want some of these opportunities to come back. You know, I want to harvest some of these fruits. Like, I worked so hard on the seeds. I've been so patient. How can I shake the tree to make the fruit fall?" Right? And that's where social media comes into it. Now, you may notice that I have some fun on social media. I tend to fuck around and, be a bit goofy and, just talk about like real shit and have conversations and blah, 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 blah. And I can't even, like, a lot of the time when I'll put out a track, literally, like, people would just listen to it and whatever, and then nothing immediate happens. But then later, I'll post like a shit hot cat meme, and everybody will forward the meme picture, and then suddenly I get some phone calls that day that are like, hey, I want to book you for a show, or blah, blah, blah. And you're essentially just reminding people that you exist, right? And it's really important to remind people that you exist, because when it comes to getting gigs, what you need to create is a palpable absence, right? You need people to be like, Artist X hasn't been around here for a while, and I'm thinking about Artist X, and they're really on my mind, and I think they'd sell some tickets. We should book Artist X. And really reminding people that you're not there is the key to getting gigs. Reminding people that yes, they want you there, and that you're absent is the key to getting hired, right? So, really, you got to think about what your brand extensions are. So you may notice, like, guys like Bassnectar, for example, he's constantly engaging in political life. He's asking people questions like, what's your like perfect Sunday afternoon chill out track, or what do you think about the president, or like whatever, and it creates these conversations, and a lot of the time the conversations will go more viral and get more engagement. The controversy and the media hype of just like him jawing off about his opinions on corporate politics and war and stuff will often, and because that's the extension of his brand. And when people have these conversations, and a lot of people, like, he's like kind of transcended just what it is to even be a DJ, and like it's just like a public figure at this point, right? But by behaving as a public figure, not only is he kind of elevating himself in the minds of people, but he's participating in the conversations that are current and that people are having, right? So for Bassnectar, his brand extension is being like a public figure, right? Whereas if you look at like Excision, what do you think of when you think of Excision? Fucking Tyrannosauruses and dinosaurs, right? And then conversely, what do Excision fans think of when they see dinosaurs? They think of Excision, right? So his values, he's not so much like, hey, this is my opinion on the war in Iraq, but he's like, his brand extension, he's like, yo, I make dinosaur music. I'm going to engage. I'm just going to own the fucking dinosaur world. And he, with his love of dinosaurs and stuff, has just really like, people fucking mail him Tyrannosauruses all the time. Anytime someone finds a spicy Tyrannosaurus meme on the internet, they're posting to Excision, and he's therefore always on people's minds, right? Or take, Dylan Francis or Getter, for example. They just own the comedy thing so hard, and they make all these ridiculous videos where it's like their reaction when the beat drops or whatever, right? Because that's the kind of extension of their brand. Or for me, it's teaching people and doing music and stuff, and just making people want to engage with music, like. So it's really, it's different for different people, but it's important to kind of think about beyond just the actual music itself. What is your brand about, and how do you want to shake the tree by engaging in the public sphere online, right? So when I had a bit more time on my hands, at one point I was on the Excision tour bus, right? And so I was living for 3 months on this fucking tour bus where, I didn't get to get in the studio. It's really hard to produce music on a tour bus and stuff. So I was spending a lot of time on social media, and I had a really excellent social media time at that point. My website was just all about that like gate, it was just like, here's some free music in exchange for your email address. And I mean, if you go to illgates.com, the page that it takes you to, it's very clear that page exists for one fucking reason, and that's to distribute free music in exchange for email addresses, and the rest of the page content is just there to make people want to click, yeah, give me free music, here's my email address. Right? It's like the capture system. Right, so I would, there's this Google URL shortener that you could use where you type in any URL, even a long, clumsy URL, and it'll make you like a nice, tidy little thing. So what I did when I was killing it at this point. I mean, lately I've been more focused on writing music and less like gaming social media, but I was really crushing it for a bit there, getting like 1,000 fans a week without any advertising. And how I was doing it was I was sitting there and just scraping Reddit for all the fucking funny meme pictures, like going all over the internet too, but mostly Reddit, Imgur, and getting all of, or Imgur, you're supposed to say Imgur, but I say Imgur so that people know what I'm talking about. But I was going on Imgur and Reddit and getting all of these different like memes and posts and things that I thought were relevant. And then I would post something that I thought would go viral. And then instead of a description, I would put my Google URL short link that led to the capture system, right? And I had this one picture. It was like... it was a picture of a cop, and because people like, when you're talking about clickbait, people love an incomplete narrative, because even a sentence, every sentence has a noun and a verb. Like every sentence is a little story being told if you analyze it linguistically, because that's just, the narrative structure is just how humans think, right? So as such, you know, we can't stand an incomplete thought, and that's why you get all these, that's why you get like, you know, I lost 800 pounds with this one weird trick. You're like, tell me what the fucking trick is. Like your brain just can't handle an incomplete narrative. So an incomplete narrative is the key to clickbait, right? So this image blew up for me. It was a picture of a cop, and it had a joke, and the top line was at the top of the picture of the cop, but the picture was like a vertical picture, and the bottom half was obscured until you clicked on it. Right? So if you wanted to hear the punchline, you had to click on it. And that was a big part of what made this post go viral. And the post was a cop, and it said, how many cops does it take to screw in a light bulb? Question mark, with a picture of this big oinky oinky cop on it. And then you click on it, and the punchline was none. They just beat the room for being black. Right? Which is facetious, but admittedly, you know, it's a message that's definitely, you know, there's a lot of police brutality, especially racist police brutality. So people thought that was hilarious. And then, weirdly, people who were racist also thought it was hilarious. They were like, yeah, get it? Because they're black, assholes. So I ended up with racist people and not racist people wildly sharing this image because it had an incomplete narrative, and it was funny whether you're a racist or you're against police brutality. Like me, very much not a racist and very against police brutality, just to be totally clear, especially racist cops. If you're a racist cop, fuck you. But anyway, just being clear. But yeah, so this post got like 20,000 shares and like over 1 million impressions, and it had my little short link in it. So I ended up getting probably like 1,500 new signups on my Facebook page because of this ridiculous like police brutality joke, right? But they don't all stick, and you're not going to know what's going to work or not. And frankly, if you're just sitting there posting annoying memes on the internet, you can overdo it, right? Like, and this is why I like to think of this social media tree shaking activity as an extension of your brand, because you got to remember, a lot of people, this might be their first exposure to your brand. It also might be like, let's say, you know, your Aphex Twin, and you start posting like, who gives better blowjobs, bronze or brunettes? People are going to be like, oh my god, when did Aphex Twin become this like tacky asshole? Like, this sucks. It's ruining him as an artist for me. Like, I'm bummed, right? So you got to kind of like, you got to recognize that there is definitely damage you can do to your brand with these techniques, but there's also, you know, it's how you remind people that you exist, because people on the internet, they want, you know, boobs, cats, stupid memes, you know, they're fucking around at work or whatever. They just want to be entertained, you know? So really, they're not necessarily like, and I mean, a lot of people, they're on their phone on Facebook, and they might see your SoundCloud link, but they don't even have their headphones plugged in. They're not going to be like bumping your track on their fucking iPhone, just like showing all their coworkers, be like, do you hear that shit? Do you hear that shit? Like, that's not No one does that, right? So, but people are going, well, no, not any publicity is good publicity, Bryce Ivers. There's definitely bad publicity. I mean, look at Mimosa or Louis C.K. or Harvey Weinstein. Is that good publicity? You know, is that good publicity? So, there definitely is such a thing as bad publicity. So, you got to be. You got to be aware of that, and you got to recognize that, you know, what you're putting out is definitely gonna create the role that people expect you to play. You know, if you look at a guy like Steve-O, for example, like he was like from Jackass, and he was just known as like this wild fucking partying guy who would like snort a line of fucking wasabi or whatever, you know. And I just recently watched this documentary about him where he had created this like super louder than life like public persona that was just like he's this wild party animal, and he'll jump off the balcony and fucking, you know, do like 10 whippets and whatever. And you know, it created this kind of feedback cycle where, because we are, like, if you look at, like, you know, the Stanford Prison Experiment or Stanley Milgram's experiments on obedience or enclosed cognition, where there's famous experiments where they'll take a bunch of girls and they'll put them in lab coats and they'll, like, crush an exam, and then they put them in bikinis or, like, dildo store dresses, and they do terrible. You know, like we play the role that we feel others expect of us, right? And as an artist, you know, you're creating this personality and you're creating this role for yourself, and there's like a feedback loop, you know? So you got to be careful what kind of a role that you create for yourself to play with these brand extensions. Because, for example, Steve-O, he lost his mind and became like just this wild drug addict and was just filming everything he did, and just every step down to the bottom, to rock bottom, was just all on camera while he fucking ruined his life and became totally addicted to drugs and stuff. And it just like, you know, it became impossible to separate his drug use from his on-camera antics and stuff. And like, yeah, it went viral. Yeah, everybody knows who Steve-O is. Yeah, he has lots of fans and stuff, but he was like, you know, gonna die if he didn't get out of this role. So you got to be aware that by exercise, you know, by shaking the tree and putting out your personality into the public sphere, you are in a lot of ways creating your own future and creating the role. But at the same time, it's essential to remind people that you exist and create a sense of palpable absence that makes them want to hire you and makes them want to bring you to your town and makes people be like, yeah, I'll buy a ticket, you know, fuck, sure, of course. So, creating a career for yourself, or just getting people to like your music, it's really essential to not just treat your actual creative output as content, but to create this like larger brand extension content where, you know, you're engaging in conversations, you know, you're posting funny pictures, like memes and stuff. And I mean, even just the other day, I had my friend over who is an acro yoga instructor, and I was all tired and stuff. My girl and her were like, no, we got to do the airplane, and you'll be doing the airplane. It'll be awesome. Trust us, do it. And I was like, okay. And then we did this photo, and it went crazy. Like, it got like a couple hundred shares or something. It was like really did well on social media. And then the next thing you know, I had a bunch of gigs come in because I took this like silly picture where I was doing the airplane and producing in my studio. So you know, your content isn't just your tracks. Your content is also your tree shaking antics and conversation creation. So really, as an artist, and this is something that only you can do as an artist, like it's possible to hire a manager, it's possible to hire an agent, it's possible to hire a record label or PR people or graphic designer. You know, those are all things that you can do, but it's not like necessary that you do them, right? But the thing that only you can necessarily do is create the conversation that is going to drive the conversation conduit, right? So really think carefully about like, what do you represent? What is your personality beyond just your music? Like, what are you trying to do with your music? What are you trying to convey with your music? What do you want people to feel? What do you want people to think? And what are you going to do to make them have a conversation about thinking, about feeling, about, you know, what is it that, like, I mean, for me, a lot of what I do is just give people a kick in the ass and make them be creative and be like, oh my God, no, I shouldn't fucking do this thing that I hate. I have one life. You know, I want to fucking live it and make the most of it. Like, that's the message of my music and the message of my teaching. So really, like, a lot of what I do is, you know, encouraging critical thinking, you know, and encouraging genuine joy and just like breaking out of the rat race and, you know, maybe not going to war. You know, stuff like that. Like, that's kind of very much, you know, my brand extensions. But think about what your brand extensions are. Think about what you want. What is the larger conversation that you're creating? Not just the conversation about your music. Because, like, if I like chocolate cake and you like chocolate cake, and I go, isn't chocolate cake great? You're going to be like, yeah, chocolate cake's awesome. Why are we talking about this? Right? Whereas if I like chocolate cake and you think chocolate cake is a tool of the oppressor to subvert feminism, we might have an interesting conversation, right? So, you know, you got to talk, you know, a conversation should, don't try to make everybody like you all the time, but definitely try and create a conversation. Stay true to your values and really just like, you know, be larger than life. Get out there. Shake the tree. So plant the seeds, plant the tree seeds, but you also got to build your net and shake the tree. Okay? Shake the tree. All right. Lots of love, everybody. I'm going to get ready for my studio day. Shouts out to everyone who supports me at theweeklydownload.com. If you want to access all 53 of the weekly downloads, you can go there. It's $5 a week, and you get access to the whole archive right away. You can just go there, register, rock it for 30 days, decide you don't like it, and get your money back, and still get all 53 weekly downloads. So, yeah, much love, much respect to the members of the Producer Dojo. The mixtape is hot fire. I'm still waiting on one master, and then I think it's coming out tomorrow when we relaunch the blog. Oh, new Producer Dojo blog is launching. But yeah, lots of cool stuff in the pipes. I'm going to go for now, and then I'm going to fire up the sequencer and make some music. Thanks a lot, everybody. Love ya. Bye.